Okay. Joining us today is Jamalyn Cannon, our 1988 president. Welcome, Jamalyn.
Thank you.
And if you would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get started in the real estate industry?
Well, I'll begin with saying I was born in Texas. Never thought I'd live my life in Georgia. But at the time, we were transferring around. And my husband, I had met. I was secretary to the personnel director with the General Motors plant in Arlington. And so we were transferred to Kansas City, ended up here in 1963.
Okay.
So at that time, of course, I was raising my family. In 1974, my oldest was going away to college, and I decided that I would go into the real estate business. And I started with Jim Royer Realty on Briarcliff Road with Jock Davis, who was the broker at that time. There was no early training. They just welcomed you. You had passed the test, so we started from there. And so they thought it would be a good idea for me to sit on some open houses on Sunday.
Okay.
Just what I did. And then we started our weekly round of checking the real estate. And I am a quick learner because when I see successful people, I try to emulate that. That is really important. And so anyway, it was a great group, and I really enjoyed it. And that was 1974. 1980, I got my broker's license. And at that time, Buddy Weston had become the broker of that office.
Okay.
An opportunity came along then in 1983 to go with Remax and Bob Saker. So I transferred and did that. Other than that, I have been very active with the board, with the Women's Council of Realtors, which had a wonderful program for everything in real estate. And I really like administrative work. So that was what I really enjoyed the most.
Okay.
So then when I was called to be president of the board, I said, "You think I can do this?" They said, "Oh yes, you can do this." And so anyway, that's how I became president of the board.
Why don't you, if you would, kind of set the scene for us about how real estate was the year that you, during your presidency, and what were some of the challenges faced by realtors at that time?
Well, we had been through some very difficult markets, up and down. The early 80s had been very high interest rates. And that takes its toll on realtors to begin with. I felt at the time we were all, just trying to hold our own. The board had about 2,100 members at that time. And I know that year one of our main goals was 100% RPAC. I loved working with Keith and with everyone with RPAC. And so some of our events evolved around that. We were active with the Dunair School. Probably the biggest change that I can see that has taken place now, of course, we did not have cell phones, we did not have internet. It was just a totally different world. And you worked hard to get your customers and run all over the city. My main
GPS.
my main thing was 4 o'clock, wherever I was, I said we head home.
Oh, good.
The traffic had gotten so bad
Mhm.
everywhere.
Mm.
And of course, we were selling all out in Cobb and
Mhm.
Gwinnett counties. That roads, everything now is totally developed in all those directions. It was interesting to get lost at one point, when I saw a sign that said, Alabama. I said, no, it's time to turn around.
Oh, okay.
It was totally different then.
Then, yes, than it is now.
But I'm a really good map reader.
Mhm.
And
That's good.
read the sun.
So technically, you were never lost.
I was never lost. I always
Okay.
learned a new road. I never forget a road I've been on.
Okay.
And that helps.
That definitely helps. Definitely helps.
Yeah.
Share with us some of the most of your favorite or fond DeKalb board memories.
Well, you plan your year and your activities.
Mm-hmm.
And going back over it, we had an event down at the park, and we had a dunking booth that Van Johnson and I both happened to be dunked.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. Another race we were participating in, I dropped my sunglasses in the toilet.
Oh, okay.
You don't forget that.
No, that's memorable.
But I did have an honor that year. The trying to think of it. Yeah, it just slipped my mind. From California, and so I participated in that. We were just so busy trying to keep everything with all the conventions and the activities, with the board.
With the board. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Trying to participate and get more participation from the realtors who are limited with their time anyway.
Right.
Particularly at
But
that
that was
time.
a pretty good size membership at that time.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. What is the membership now? Do you have any idea?
It's about 1,000.
It's about 1,000,
About
right?
1,000.
Kind of a high attrition with when the market.
Young realtors have been very active,
Mm-hmm.
and they got more involved with the board.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't think they continued many years after that as a separate unit.
They have the now YPN that they're actually promoting and trying to re-engage for those that are more of the, as we say, the younger folks in in real estate.
Yes.
So yeah, they're embracing the young realtors again and getting them more involved.
And training
absolutely.
has changed so much.
Mm-hmm.
It was wonderful. We had the new building, the new DeKalb board building, and the listing, was wonderful. Everything was there. I had seen that was the year the board opened their store.
The MLS store.
The MLS store.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a real asset. And then when I was with the Remax office next to it, it was wonderful. I was
Just right.
back and
Everything
forth
right there.
across the parking lot all the time.
Uh-huh.
So, I think the thing about realtors, we're people oriented,
Yes.
and all the people that you deal with are so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And then the being a realtor, the high standards that we all, appreciate and enjoy.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you. What you see being the difference between the benefits of being a realtor versus a licensee?
Well, I cannot imagine not being a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are a lot of smaller companies, different type companies with the commissions that have come along.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how they operate, since I've just always felt you needed to be a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
The cooperation always is so wonderful between realtors.
Yes.
And you know, the higher standards when you working on grievance or any of those things really brings out the character.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a huge difference.
Yes. Jamalyn, what would you say would be the most dramatic, or has had the most dramatic impact on the real estate industry?
The internet.
The internet? Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that everyone has access to listings, to
Mm-hmm.
housing. You know, I never even had a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
The old large ones that came along.
Like a brick? Yes.
I had a cousin who had one. He was with AT&T. Well, you know, he's the only one that could afford one and walk around with it. At the time I was co-brokering with Bob, he made me carry his pager when he was out of town. I thought, oh, that is really puts me on the spot.
Right, of accessibility.
Yeah, so yeah, the internet I'm sure has changed all the industries,
Yes.
particularly realtors.
Let me ask you, what one piece of advice would you give to a new realtor getting into the business that made a difference with you?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I do have several friends now that have gone into the business, and their expectations are different than what the business is about how hard you have to work. Because they, you know, everyone has a different idea about realtors. We look good, we try to act good. And they all think, well, you make the $1 Million Club, you're making $1 million. No, that is not the case. And however, they do have more tools to work with than we did. But the thought, I have a friend that I know, and he has since gone into the commercial business, but that calling, you know, 10 people a day to get one yes, he said, you know, this is really different. I said, I know, it's tough.
Tough, that's right.
Yes, so, but when you've got family and friends, I was at one open house one year, and a number of young realtors were there. I was so glad to see them, and one said, oh yeah, she sold my girlfriend her house, and the other one said, well, she sold my mother. Well, okay, I guess that's it for me.
Wow.
But you make lifetime friends in the business, and nobody appreciates what you do like another realtor. Because we all go through the same thing.
Right.
And it's a very rewarding thing, and it also has its up and downs and disappointments, because you have to just keep plugging along. So anyway, it's I loved it. It's been part of my life for 40 years. My children hate the telephone.
They do.
That's one rule. Don't answer the phone when you're eating.
Okay.
But they all knew how to take messages and that type thing.
Wow. Wow. Okay. What do you see now as the future for the DeKalb Association? And what goals would you like to see the next generation to achieve?
That is really interesting. The DeKalb has a great history, and continues to expand and be active. I really, I think they've always worked so hard to have well-trained people, and I think the goal is just to continue the high standards that we've always had, and the training programs now that are available are great.
So are you in support of the increase of the education with the CE credits?
Absolutely,
and everything?
yeah. Of course, I happen to be one of those that was grandfathered in, so that now that I'm not working, when my husband became ill, I got out one time, and I found I could not do that. I had to be home because I was so concerned. And so I actually stopped at that point. I can refer, and I don't want to give up my license.
Yeah.
That's just
Why?
something that,
Exactly.
you want to hold on to, because you never know what you might want to do.
That's true.
In fact, I was just getting the information for the GAR last year. Talked with Elsie, and she didn't let me know in time. I couldn't get to the meeting, but I hope to be there in September.
Well, we want you to be there
I
in
want to
September.
see everybody.
Yes.
After I was president at the DeKalb board, I stayed active with the Women's Council. And became state president, so I made the rounds in the state, and their training programs have always been wonderful.
That's right.
So I'm looking forward to seeing more people. Who knows? Maybe I'll get more active.
There you go. and why not?
I hate to put it on film, but I told my children I try to be the poster child for 80. I am 80. I swim 3 times a week.
Wow.
I do everything, and so.
Wow. I would never have guessed that.
So anyway.
Well, thank you for sharing.
my children say, "Mom, you don't have to work so hard at it." Well, what else am I going to do, You have to work
Good
at
for
it.
you. That's awesome.
So anyway, this has been a pleasure to see you all and get better acquainted.
Well, we're just so glad that you were able to kind of come today and share your memories.
I kept worrying about, how in the world will I do this, but anyway, it worked in my schedule.
It did.
So,
and we
anyway.
thank you for all your leadership and your, again, ongoing
like I
participation.
say, I've got to stay active with it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you.
Well, likewise. And Daryl, we're good.
I don't think I have
Have any questions? She was good. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.